Here is a quick tutorial on how to add glitter to the top of the acorn.
It's been so fun to use the acorn in various ways. One, you can use modeling paste and of course add that to the top here, which is amazing in the digital idea book. Make sure to check that out. You could do stencil doodling in those spots if you want to, or of course you don't have to use the stencil designs at all. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Mod Podge or of course a liquid adhesive, and I'm going to rub it across the top and then of course wash my template off right away. And then I'm going to use some glitter and sprinkle that on, let it dry, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so I took a spatula and I went ahead and just rubbed it across the top a little bit. Very messy. Now granted, on the sides, I'm going to be cutting them off. And then I'm also, sorry, it just got really loud, going to just be doing the top separate than the base, and I'll show that here when I get to it. But I am going to be doing that top separate, so I wasn't too worried about the glue going, you know, in that trace line right here, that crease. All right, I went ahead and sprinkled the glitter on top, and I'm gonna let it set for a minute, and then because it's glued, some warm water, running this over warm water should take it right off the template. But let's let it sit for a moment and we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside while this dries. You can see here that I have some glue that kind of spreaded out, but I'm thinking this is gonna dry clear, and we'll come back and take a peek at it once it's done. While that is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and trace out a full acorn, just using the outside edge. Of course, I'm not gonna do anything with the stencil. All right, so I went ahead and traced that out. And I went ahead and inked the edges just a little bit, just so that when I start adding layers, I can kind of blend each layer in by just adding a little bit of ink on those edges. But I'm still waiting for that top to dry, and then we'll start layering the pieces on top. All right, so I'm gonna cut out my acorn. I did trace the acorn's outside edge, and you can see that here. And that's basically the guideline I'm following. And of course, I'm going above the trace line. Even though the trace line got glitter on it, I'm not including the line, just the head of the acorn. Of course, always detach it. Detach it from the larger paper. Don't wrestle. No need to wrestle with your paper. All right, I have prepped it with some pop-up. I'm gonna pop up the stem here and the top portion of the acorn as well. I do love me some pop-up. It's very inexpensive and a great way to just add a little bit of, again, dimension between layers, but also there's just something so satisfying about it. It's so fulfilling in and of itself as you are creating. It really gives you a sense of fulfillment, and that's why I love pop-up. All right, so I cut it out. I did ink the edges. It helped cover any of the bleed over of glue. Like I said, it dries clear. You can definitely see a little bit of the glue. And I will add, when we were adding like a layer of glue, I just tried to do a thin layer. Now, because glue is finer, right, like more thicker than like modeling paste or something like that, it did tend to bleed out, but then those sides just cleared up and I was able to ink some of that edges. Let me show you here. I want to show you mine so that you don't judge yours too harshly. But like I said, here's a little bit of glue here. You can see kind of the dryness of it. But I don't think, for me, that doesn't really bother me. And I know sometimes it's hard to see in the pictures and you might think that yours is different than mine. If it bothers you, that's a whole another story. But if you're comparing it to mine, don't be too hard on yourself. All right, for me, I am going to trim just a little bit of that edge off with my scissors. Just because when I place the top of it down, of course, on top of the pop-up, I just want to trim up those edges just a little bit to make it a tighter seamless layer there. All right, so I want a little bit the top here to be a different color, simply for just added text, like added dimension and layers, and just to accentuate each of those elements. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace just the top portion here, of course, line it up on the edge of my scrap of paper, and just trace the top of that acorn out. And it just is a simple way to add detail. I'm now going to take Autumn 2, and I'm going to create a smaller acorn to layer with my other acorn. And for this one, I'm going to do the base, the dark color. So again, I'm just going to take this scrap of paper that I have here, and we're going to cut out a full acorn first. Now I'm going to take the head of the acorn and trace it out of this other scrap of paper. For this one, I thought I would add a little bit of glitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some liquid glue down here at the tip, and then I'll probably run a strip across the edge of this top of the head of the acorn and kind of outline it, so to speak, to give it a little bit of glitter to coordinate with that one, but not as detailed as this one. Yes, I know that there are glitter containers, but I'm kind of like one of those people, if I can accomplish it some other way with paper, I don't need the little knickknacks, especially when I'm not using glitter all the time, which for me, I'm not. But yeah, so I just put the excess, I put it on a piece of paper and I just bend the paper and put it back in, and for the most part, paper is pretty good for giving. It'll go back to its state as well. Like that, voila.
All right, I loved the touch of the glitter so much that I decided to go ahead and add a little glue around the edge of one of my tracings and then sprinkle glitter on it as well.